There is a specific kind of room you've been in. Maybe it was a party, maybe a work dinner, maybe your own family at Christmas. The lights were warm and the conversation was easy, and everyone in the room seemed to know exactly how to be there. Laughter rose at the right moments. People touched each other's arms when they made a joke. The air had a rhythm to it, and somehow everyone was on the beat. Except you. Not because you were doing anything wrong. You were saying the right things. You were smiling at the right times. From the outside, you looked like you belonged there as much as anyone. But on the inside, there was a thin pane of glass between you and the room, invisible, soundless, completely real. You could see them, you could hear them, you just couldn't quite reach them. And the strangest part isn't that it happened that night. The strangest part is that it has been happening in different rooms for as long as you can remember. Now, the obvious explanation, the one you've probably told yourself 100 times, is that you're shy, or socially anxious, or introverted, or that there's something quietly wrong with you that everyone else figured out and you didn't. I want to be direct. That's not what this is. Plenty of shy people belong easily in rooms. Plenty of socially anxious people have a tribe they slot into without thinking. Plenty of introverts are surrounded by people who get them. The feeling we're talking about isn't about social skill, or confidence, or how much you talk at parties. It's something else. Something that almost nobody in the psychology space names correctly, because the real answer is uncomfortable, and it's about to change how you understand the last 20 years of your life. You have carried this feeling for so long that you stopped questioning it. You started to assume it was just you. It isn't. There's a reason for it. There's a name for it. And once you can see it, you can't unsee it. Stay with me. We have to go through one layer to get there. In 1979, a social psychologist named Henri Tajfel published one of the most important pieces of research in the field. He was trying to understand how groups form. What he discovered, after a famous experiment now known as the minimal group paradigm, was disturbing in its simplicity. Tajfel divided strangers into two teams based on something completely arbitrary: preference for one abstract painter over another. Within minutes, the participants began favoring their own group, distrusting the other, feeling a quiet loyalty to a tribe that hadn't existed an hour earlier. He called it social identity theory. And the conclusion, repeated in thousands of studies since, is this: the human brain is a tribal sorting machine, constantly, automatically, deciding who is us and who is them. Now think about every room you've walked into. Most people walk in, scan it for half a second, and lock onto their people. Same humor, same references, same unspoken rules. They don't think about it. Their brain does it for them. Yours doesn't. You walk in, you scan, and the sort never quite finishes. You see parts of yourself reflected in different people. Your humor in one, your seriousness in another, your taste in a third, but never the whole shape of you in any single group. So you adapt. You give each room the version of you that fits it best. And the more rooms you do this in, the smaller the version of you that gets to actually exist in any of them. Here's the part almost no one gets right. Brené Brown, a research professor who has spent more than 2 decades studying belonging at the University of Houston, made a distinction in her work that most people who quote her have never actually understood. She separates two experiences that look identical from the outside but are completely opposite on the inside. The first is fitting in. Fitting in is when you change yourself, your opinions, your laugh, your taste, your edges, to match the room. The reward is that you get to stay. The cost is that the room doesn't actually know who you are. The second is belonging. Belonging is when you walk into the room as yourself and the room makes space for you anyway. Same shape going in as coming out. What Brown's data shows, and this is the part that stops people, is that the lonelier you feel in a room, the more likely it is that you've gotten very good at the first one. The people who feel most like outsiders are very often the people who have learned to fit in flawlessly. And the price they pay for that flawlessness is that no one is actually meeting them. The glass isn't between you and the room because you're failing. The glass is there because you're succeeding too well. You've been fitting in your whole life. You forgot what belonging felt like. But here's the harder part. Some people protect themselves by deciding, somewhere deep down, that they will never belong anywhere. It's safer that way. If you're already outside, no one can push you out. The outsider identity becomes armor, quiet, sophisticated, hard to argue with. You stop trying, you start to take pride in not fitting. You make it personality, and slowly, without noticing, you build a life where nobody can reach you, and you tell yourself it was their fault for not trying harder. That's a wall, not a window. And it's worth being honest about, because it's the version of this that hurts the most over time. Now here's what the research actually says about people who chronically feel outside the room, and it isn't what you've been told. In long-term studies on what psychologists call integrative complexity, the ability to see multiple perspectives on the same situation, people who don't fully belong to any single group consistently score higher. They can hold contradictions other people can't. They notice patterns insiders are too embedded to see. They are often the writers, the founders, the diplomats, the artists, the people whose work requires the ability to stand half a step outside a culture and describe it back to itself. Anthropologists have a word for this position: liminal. From the Latin word for threshold, the strip of wood at the bottom of a doorway. A liminal person is someone who lives in the doorway, not in the room, not outside the house, in the threshold itself. The world tells liminal people they have a problem. The truth is closer to the opposite. Every room you have ever felt like an outsider in is a room you were watching with a kind of clarity the people inside it could not access. You weren't broken. You were positioned. So here is the thing nobody told you. You are not outside anything. You are standing in a different kind of room. A doorway-shaped room. A room with a view into every other room you've ever walked through. It is quieter in there, and lonelier, and the people who can keep you company in it are rare. But the view from that room is the reason you understand things other people don't. It is the reason your friends come to you when something falls apart. It is the reason your eye catches what theirs misses. So stop trying to make every room feel like home. That isn't your work. Your work is to find the very small number of people who recognize the doorway when they see one, and to let them see that you live in it too. There aren't many of them, but they're real, and they've been looking for you, in their own way, for as long as you've been looking for them. Tell me, honestly, when you walked into the last room that mattered to you, was the glass between you and them? Or between the version of you they met and the version of you that actually came?